to the show where stories unfold.
Let's go.
People doing big things, breaking the mold. They're changing the game, making waves every day.
Big move.
Shining bright with the work that is well.
Shine on.
This is Breaking the Silence with Nick
Nick Nicole in the building.
Unleash your inner voice and make some
Turn
noise.
up. Welcome to the Breaking the Silence podcast with Arthur and Nick Nicole. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell your cousin, tell your friend, tell your neighbor to come over here and break the silence with Arthur and Nick Nicole. Welcome to another powerful episode. Sit back and relax. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome to another episode of Breaking the Silence. I'm your host, Arthur Nick Nicole, and today we're joined by the incredible Miss Megan Feveryear, a passionate artist manager and ministry-driven leader. She's originally from Pennsylvania. Now she calls Nashville, Tennessee home, where she moved in 2021 to pursue her career in the music industry. Yeah, but her heart still remains deeply rooted in ministry, where she encourages women to boldly live out their calling. In 2020, she launched This Day podcast. And in 2024, she released a powerful 14-day devotional, Fully Known, reminding us that no matter our circumstances, we are always fully known by Him. And when she's not pouring into others, she enjoys traveling, trying new restaurants, and crafting meaningful moments with her friends. So join me today as we learn her journey of faith, purpose, and boldness to stand firm in her calling. So after her countdown, please welcome this amazing woman to the platform. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for coming and being a part of this journey with me. I really appreciate your support.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me a part. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. So tell us, who is Miss Megan Feveryear?
Oh my goodness. I tell all my friends, Megan has so many layers. She's like an onion because I do so many different things. And two of my favorite things though, I love people well, and I love to, my biggest fun fact I give everybody is I love to travel. In my home, I have a map of all the states that I've been to. And so you can't just drive through a state. You have to actually stop and do something in the state. But Megan is somebody that loves people well and loves to travel, loves to see anything new. I think newness just sparks creativity.
That's true. That's true. So what inspired your move to Pennsylvania, from Pennsylvania to Nashville, to pursue music management?
Yeah, absolutely. So really, COVID. Uh, COVID. They say beauty comes out of ashes, right? And so I had no intentions. My whole entire family is back in Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of us, Christmas dinner, there's about 30 of us and now more because everybody's getting married and having babies.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's back there. And now, so I had no intention of leaving Pennsylvania. I was going to stay close to my roots. And I talked to a lot of people that said, you can, stay in your hometown. And now computers are a thing and airplanes are a thing. So you can work remote. You can stay here, hop on a call, do all the things you need to do, and then fly, take a business trip and work in the music industry. And then this thing called COVID hit. And touring shut down, all of these different aspects of live entertainment closed off. And I was sitting in my house with my family one day and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. All my income is kind of stopping. And I got a call from a friend at the start of COVID, and he lived in Nashville. And he was a good friend, a good mentor to me. And he said, Megan, if you consider it and move to Nashville, I think in a couple months you're going to have some work. And I was like, okay, well, I have a lot of time now to pray about it. So it was really just a lot of prayer, a lot of thought, and a lot of conversation with a lot of different people through that time of kind of silence on every end of everything.
But you know what? COVID changed a lot of people's lives for the good and for the bad. But it kind of like put people into their passions too, because then COVID made people realize, I can sing, I can dance, or I can do this. So then now they have their own businesses and stuff because of COVID. So COVID
It
was
did.
good and bad.
It absolutely did. And, it really, I honestly can say, COVID it was a hard season for so many different people. But had that year of craziness not happen, I
Hmm.
don't think I would have taken the step to move because I was comfortable where I was. I was comfortable being close to my family, having game nights with my cousins once a month, just, having picnics in the summer, like doing all of the things, that were routine to me. And
Right.
now, I have to be intentional. I am going to go home and see this and be intentional about, hey, when I'm home, we're going to still have that traditional game night. Just be intentional about that stuff. But it brought me out of my comfort zone and it showed me intentionality about staying connected with those that I really do care about.
Nice. Now you wear so many hats. You're an author, you have the podcast, you have all these roles. So let's talk about This Day podcast. That's something you
Yeah.
started in 2020. How has that podcast evolved since you started it? And what do you hope that your listeners will walk away after each episode?
Yeah, absolutely. So that podcast started as a way to stay connected to people. Um, and it started, I just called up all my friends in the music industry and said, hey, let's do something together. Let's collaborate and let's stay connected. And since then, it's turned into a place where everybody can have a seat at the table. I am a big advocate for people coming on because I've noticed as I have moved to Nashville, I've met so many interesting people with so many interesting stories. And just like you, I'm meeting you, and you have such a crazy, incredible story with your podcast. But I've met so many different people, not just in the music industry, that have a cool story, but maybe don't have a platform or a big stage to share it on. And I'm like, well, you can share it on a podcast, everybody's voice matters. So that is kind of what sparked and where it's how it's ebbed and flowed. And when people listen to an episode, I just hope that they find joy in each episode because we laugh together. One overarching question that I ask everybody that comes on the podcast is what's keeping you present? Because
Mm.
so much comes for our attention, right? During a day. And like consistently, so many times you can start in this, mindset, but then end in this mindset. And you're like, how did I go from being super joyful to now being really kind of bummed out about how my day is? When I woke up, thinking about the color yellow and now my skies are all gray and gloomy.
Mhm.
So I hope people walk away and they just feel joy. They just feel like they spent 15 to 20 minutes with a new best friend. And if they know that they have a seat at the table too, if they have a story to share and they have a message that they know is important and that the world needs to hear.
Wow. See, now I know why we align so well. because I interview a lot of artists, and I like to put everybody in the spotlight that's doing amazing things. That, like you said, everybody has a story and their voice matters. So now I know why God brought us together, because we are more alike than we know. I love it.
Exactly. See, what you're doing is so important here.
Yes, I believe everybody, everyday people. My focus is on everyday people that are doing things, great things. 'Cause there's a lot of amazing people in the world that nobody knows about. And so, with
Yeah.
that being said, I love putting people in the spotlight to find a new best friend, like you said. But I'm always locked in with everybody that come across. It doesn't end with just the interview.
Mm,
We may talk, and then later on we're still connecting, because now I'm connecting you to the next person to further be shined on. So I
I
love it.
love it.
I love it. So now in 2024, you released your 14-day devotional, the title Fully Known. What inspired you to write this devotional, and what message you hope it conveys to those that read it?
I did. Yeah. So in 2024, I released, I don't know, I have it right here, but it's probably flipped with the camera. Well, 14-day. See, it's super short. You can barely even see how thick it is. It's 14 days and it's really, really short. Um, but I released it. It's called Fully Known. And really, it was through, I started to write it. I started to develop the concept um, of this idea. I'm like, well, I'm a very busy person. Like, usually my day starts at 7 in the morning, and I don't get finished with my day till about 6 o'clock. So it's, a 12-hour day. But I'm like, I need to carve out a time in the morning to have my time with Jesus, because if I don't, it just, my day just is offset. It's not set right. But so many times I see people, online, the comparison game, where they're like, we spent 2 hours with the Lord today and we just feel refreshed and renewed. And I'm like, I don't have 2 hours to give of myself. Like, is God mad at me? Is he mad if I don't have those 2 hours to give? And I wrestled with that at first. And I was on a conversation with my mom, and she said, Megan, like, God just wants you to, if you give your time to him, whatever time you have, he's happy. He's honored that you would take part of your day. And I thought about it and I'm like, I can't be the only one that struggles with this. And that's when I was like, we can't be, I love so many devotionals that dive deep in, but if you're like me, you don't have time sometimes, some days, to give 2 hours of your day to a 20-week study, when sometimes you need to hit people quick and you need to hit them with the point. And
Right.
so I was like, what if we spent 2 weeks and did 10-minute walkthroughs of telling people, hey, you are fully known, meaning your identity is known, your purpose is known, and your calling is known, but taking characters in the Bible and comparing them to real life stories that I walk
Mhm.
through, that some of my friends walk through, um, and just comparing them and saying, the playing field is level. King David was a big guy in the Bible, and Ruth was a big lady in the Bible. But when we look at their stories, they all are similar to some things that we struggle with.
Yeah.
Ruth had her husband pass away. How many people do we lose, in
Hmm.
our lives and in marriages? And King David, he struggled with his, obviously, his marriage, viewing another woman in a way that he shouldn't have, but also just in, with battling Goliath. Oh my goodness, how many times do
Yes.
we have Goliaths in our lives? There's so many different things. But when we look at the different analogies, we can narrow it down and level the playing field. Um, so I wrote it in that perspective of different people and really wanting us to really understand our identity
Yeah.
in Christ. What I didn't realize when I was writing it is every time that I wrote a story, I was about ready to walk through my identity being challenged and my worth being challenged in the same hand in hand. And I was like, God, you knew what I was going through as I wrote this devotional. So it was a really, really sweet season to write it. And it's been really sweet to have it out now in the world and on Amazon. and
Wow.
just share it with people.
Wow, that's amazing. I have conversations with my mom a lot because she sends me this book. I don't know if you ever heard of it, Daily Bread.
Yeah.
And I love the Daily Bread. Oh my goodness, I love the Daily Bread. And she sends me that every quarter. And we was having a conversation like that. I said, Mom, you know what? You can go to the Bible just about anything that you're going through in your life and find all your answers. I said, whether it's love, whether it's, a struggle you're dealing with, hardship, financial issues, whatever you're going through in your life, there's a story in the Bible that's related to your life and can help you figure out your issues. She said, You just
Hmm.
realizing that? I said, Yeah, really, I am. I said, Yeah, I'm just realizing that. I said, But I didn't know that there was a Bible that actually I had bought that broke it down that way, of the books
Hmm.
that you can go to for love, the books that you can go through for hardships. So that's when I realized that there's stories in the Bible that are related to what we're really going through in life. So
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea that you did something like that, because not a lot of people do have time to sit down and journal or sit down to do anything in the morning. Some people just up, out to work, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I commend you on that. I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have to grab that book. And so is it like a journal type book where while you're reading it, you can
Well,
write
so
your
it's a little
thoughts?
mix of both. So I have like a 2 paragraph little like written word that will give like a short little story, and then you can read like a couple verses of scripture, and then there's 3 questions that you can journal with.
Mm,
Because once again, there are people out there that do have 2 to 3 hours a day to give, and that is great. Like I wish I had that time. Um, and I do, when I go on vacation, that's wonderful. And I do take that time. But this, I want it to mix kind of both of the concepts. So that's why I'll give you 3 reflective questions, a quick passage of scripture, and then the first opening 2 paragraphs that give you your little comparison story of the person you're about to read in the Bible, and then just a life story that merges the two together to show, hey, like these were actually real people, but just because they lived 2,000 years ago, we put them up here and we put us here and think we can never fill that gap.
it's still relevant today. It's still relevant.
Yeah.
I love it. So how do you stay grounded, that belief, when facing like uncertainty or hardships or anything or adversity? How do you stay grounded, and how can you cultivate that sense of trust in other people's life and your own lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, Man, it's so hard. And I'll say this, it is so hard to stay grounded. And mainly it's because of a little thing that we all keep in our pockets called our phones, and social media. I think one thing that I'm trying to do leading up here till Easter, and I'd be the first to admit I've been so bad about it, is limiting how much I go on my phone. Um, just because the art of comparison. So that's one way that I'm trying to stay grounded right now, is to watch my intake of social media and watch who I let in my inner circle that knows me the most, because I had a while back, I love my friends, and they know that I'll be the first one there to cheer them on if they're winning or they're losing. But, I've noticed different people that you let in can affect, positive or negative, your mind. And I had a situation a while back where I was determined. I was like, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to fix this situation because I'm a fixer. And when I couldn't fix the situation, it just destroyed me. And I realized, I'm like, I think I need to reevaluate how many people are inside that circle. So as far as staying grounded, it's watching my social media intake and really watching who I say is in my circle of people, because that's going to influence my daily mind.
Yes, yes. You know what? Your circle does matter. My mom used to say all the time, the company you keep
Mhm.
matters. So you have to be careful who you let in your space, because that can be positive or it can be negative. It can change your whole mindset and your whole way if you let the wrong person in your life. Now, social media,
Absolutely.
I've noticed that social media can be harmful sometimes because of what people put on social media. And I was just talking to my sister the other day, and I told her, I said, she said she was going on a social media fast. And I said, you sure
Mhm.
you're gonna be able to do that? You know, just go without social media, something that's been around. She said, I'm gonna try and see. She said, but I feel like this is something I need to do for me. So it had me
Mm.
to thinking like, how can I stay away from social media from a podcaster? How? You know, you got to schedule your posts, you got to, advertise something at some point. So, how do you turn that off?
Yeah, so what I do, because it hits me doubly hard, right? Because I have the podcast side of things, and then I have the artist that I work with side of things. So when I try to limit my social media intake, I'm kind of hit on both sides, right? I'm
Mhm.
smack dab in the middle. What I do is, like, I have my personal social media, like my personal Facebook page, my personal Instagram page, and all of those, have friends that I've known throughout the years on it.
Right.
But I will spend usually one day out of the week and I'll schedule the post for the week. But
Mm.
I condition myself where I'm like, okay, so the only other time that I'm going to go on social media is I know that my, followers are good at this hour. I'll go on and I'll make a quick story when this episode launches.
Right.
And usually for the artists that I work with, they have like a specific posting schedule so that I can all do in one day. So I'll do that. And they're taken care of in that one day, but for the podcast, it needs a little more attention to detail.
Right.
Um, but I stay away from my personal stuff. And if people message me, I'll have my notifications turned on just to see a message pop up, and I'll click on that message and read it. But other than that, I'm like, there is nothing, you know, it's all about kind of regrounding my mind. And I'm like, I don't think I'm missing anything crazy, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Ain't nothing going on on social media. Really, it's not. It's sad, but it's not. So now I'm going to ask you a few out of the box questions. If your life were a song, what would the title be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Oh my goodness. I love that. That's a good question. Um, I'm gonna go, especially with, just this season of life that I'm in. I'm gonna say, it would have to have something about an adventure in it, like your life is an adventure. Um, Mainly because some mornings I'll wake up and I just I plan, don't get me wrong, I do plan out my days. I do have a very structured day. But I don't know, like, there's so many different things that I have gotten to do since over these past 4 years that I would have never dreamed of. And I think, it would have to be Rascal Flatts singing something about your life is an adventure, just like life is a highway or something.
Wow, an adventure. Nice. I love it. See, now you're gonna have to do something. Put out another devotional with that with adventure in it.
Yes,
Mhm.
maybe.
So, what's one thing you've learned from failure that has shaped you who you are today? Because we all know that failure and fear goes together, and sometimes it holds us back. So, what's one thing that has shaped you and your journey so far?
Yeah. So I used to be afraid of failure. That was like my biggest fear. Failure and spiders were right up there beside each other. And the one thing that I've learned, and this has honestly come within the past 4 years, because I remember the night before I moved to Nashville, that I sat in my childhood bedroom with my parents, and I sat on my bed and I was terrified. I was like, am I really going? I'm going to go 13 hours away, multiple states, a completely different time zone. And what if I fail? Like, that was my biggest question. And it paralyzed me for a minute. And I obviously could not sleep that night. Um, but then I got down here and I was like, there's many stories of failure that I have in the 4 years that I've been down here. Um, but I've realized you can't be afraid of failing. You need to face it and you need to attack it. And if you fail, honestly, like, good for you, because you got to have one big crazy failure once and make a list of, like, okay, what did I do really well here? What did I not do so good? And the next time, what could I do better to knock it out of the park? Because that's what I've done. And when you face your failure, more so than even facing your fear, when you face your failure, then the next time you go back and do it, you can look and kind of laugh like people did in school when they were making fun of somebody. You can laugh at that failure and say, hey, I did it and you didn't think I could. So look at you.
Exactly. But you know what I learned about failure and fear?
Yeah.
Before you even face them, you have to face yourself. You got
Yeah.
to confront yourself, because you got to be like, listen, you got to tighten up. You got to tighten up, and you got to know your full potential. And when you do that, when you do that and face yourself and you know who you are, then you can tell failure and fear, get out the way. We're not doing this today. But
Yeah.
that takes a lot of time though, because it took a lot of time for me to just say, you know what, I'm gonna step out on faith. I'm gonna just do it, and then I'm gonna deal with the aftermath later. Because fear can hold you back from a lot of things. Fear held me back from a lot over the years. But you gotta have that failure in your life, because if you didn't fail at something, then you're never gonna see the good things. And that's just how I
Absolutely.
look at it. You gotta fail at some point, because now you learned your lesson, and you can tell the next person, hey, I went through this and I got through this because I did this. So let me ask you.
Absolutely.
So if you could spend the entire day with someone who inspires you, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you ask them?
Oh, okay. So, um, so I love, okay, you have a lot of good questions on this podcast. I hope somebody has told you that. And if they haven't, I'm going to be the first one to tell you. Um, but this person would be Bob Goff. So he's an author, speaker. He does a lot of things. But I love his books. And I went to see him. He came to speak here in Nashville, and I got a ticket on the front row, dead center. I went by myself, and I never usually do that. I usually go with a group of friends, like go do stuff with friends. Like, I'm not just going to go by myself to do something. But I wanted a front row seat because he's my favorite author, favorite speaker. I just think he's one of the most engaging people,
Nice.
and he just exudes joy. Whenever I listen to his podcast or read his books, he encourages me to go about my business and stay in my lane. Um, but I would spend the day with him, and I think I would just ask him, how do you stay so positive all the time? Because life is hard. How
Yes.
in the world, how do you stay so positive all the time? That's what I would ask him.
But you know what? I think, most people that are positive all the time, they have tough skin.
Yeah.
And, my mom always told me, you don't look like what you go through on the outside. So
Yeah.
you might be going through a lot in the inside, but it's just not showing on the outside. And you still
Yeah.
have to remain positive, because if you don't remain positive, then you're just gonna fall horribly. That's how I
Yeah.
look at life. You're gonna fail, because now not only you're allowing your inner thoughts to come in, you're allowing what people around you saying, because people gonna always have something negative to say, and now you're crashing and burning. So
Yeah.
you have to put on that. I won't say poker face, because my facial expressions tell everything about what I feel. But you have to put on this image that, you know what, I'm gonna get through this regardless, and I'm getting through it, even though inside everything is falling apart. But the world don't have to know that. That's how I
Yeah.
look at it. The last question: if you could ask God one question, what would it be and why?
Hmm. So, I have, sometimes in my prayer and devotion time, when it's just me and God there, I ask him a lot of questions, and a lot of them start with why. I think I would ask God, why, what do you see in me?
Mm.
So, why, what do you see in this girl from Pennsylvania that lived in a town that had a stop sign and a post office? What did you ever see in her to choose her for any of this? I'd ask him that, you know. And I'm thankful that scripture kind of alludes to the fact that, God doesn't choose the qualified. He chooses the unqualified for ministry and for all of the different things. So I keep that in my heart, especially on days when, I hear different things from people like, oh, you need to have this many followers, or you did this wrong or that wrong. And I'm like, but God doesn't call the qualified. He calls the unqualified. Like, look at the disciples. They a tax collector in that time wasn't necessarily top of the food chain. So yeah, I would ask him, what'd you ever see in me?
I love that. You said God doesn't call the qualified, he calls the unqualified.
Yeah.
Wow. That's gonna go with somebody's head, but that was deep. I love it. Ooh. So now we're gonna play the would you rather. I decided to put these segments in because it was just interesting. So I'm gonna ask you a question about would you rather. So would you rather know everything that will happen or nothing at all?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say I want to know everything that's gonna happen.
Hmm. Why? Why everything? That's gonna be
So
kind of boring, don't you think?
well, so you're gonna think this is kind of weird. I'm the kind of person when I start a book, like not like your typical nonfiction book where you already know the story, but like if it's a fiction book, I read the ending page before the first page because I
Mm.
always go for like a happy ending. So if I know the ending is gonna be sad, I'll give up on the book. So if I knew everything that was gonna happen, I don't know. I think I would have to go with that one.
I like that. Now reading in reverse to see the ending first and then reading forward.
And
That's
then I
interesting.
read, so like way back when all of the like those Hunger Games, like all the science fictiony books, I read the last page of like the Hunger Games, the first book in that trilogy. Read that first, and then I was like, "Oh no, Katniss actually likes this boy," and like all of the different things that go in that series. So yeah, I kind of, I guess some people would say, I ruined the series for myself, but I knew to brace myself for impact along the way.
I'm gonna have to try that. That's an interesting way of looking at it, though. I might have to try doing that. So next one, would you rather always remember everything or erase your worst memories?
Mm. I think I would rather remember everything because, your memories shape you, right? So even the worst ones, you gotta have them so they can shape you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Everything that good or bad comes together for a purpose. So I had to say the same thing. I'd rather remember everything because if you erase those bad moments in your life, that can probably shift your whole life and change it to something else that you didn't even want.
Yeah.
So, last one. Would you rather heal others but not yourself or heal yourself and not others?
Mm. I would have to say heal others. I'm so others oriented that, even on the airplane when they say, help yourself before you help the other people with the oxygen mask or the life vest, whatever order that they put that in, um, that kills me. I'm like, I gotta help somebody else, especially if it's a little kid. Like, come on.
I'm gonna say the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
would
have to
have to
help
go with
others.
heal others.
I'm gonna have to do others too, heal others because that goes a long way. I truly believe when you bless people, God blesses you, and it's
Yeah.
just over and over again. It's an interchangeable thing. So I would have to say others too. I can't just think about myself in that either. So now we're down to what I call the BTS 30 Seconds of Fame. This is where you shine bright. You let everybody know where they can follow your journey, where they can get that amazing devotional book, what you have coming up next in 2025, all the good stuff about you. So after the countdown, the platform is yours.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the pod today. So you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Meg Feveryear. And this year, we're going to do something really fun. We're going out on the road for Joy Nights in Columbia, Tennessee and LaGrange, Kentucky. So you can find those right in the link in my bio on social media. And you can get the devotional book on Amazon.com. So thanks so much for listening. Stay connected.
She made that quick. She said, y'all not getting what she got going on in 2025. But thank you so much for coming and being a guest on my platform. I hope that one day I can be a guest on your platform and we can continue to network and build on
Yes,
this
I would
journey.
love that. It's been wonderful and I've loved meeting you. You've been a great host and it's been so fun.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you to everyone else out there that's tuning into this amazing episode. Miss Megan, y'all gotta make sure that y'all go out and get that book. I might have to look into getting that book too, because every time not all of us have time to like sit down 2 hours. I don't have 2 hours either, y'all. I don't have 2 hours to sit down and give back time to God. So with that being said, I might have to do the same thing. 14-day devotional. Yeah, I might have to do the same thing. So I would like to thank y'all so much. Thank you, Miss Megan, for being an amazing voice on today's episode. Your passion for ministry, music, and empowering others to stand boldly in their calling is really inspiring. So thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for tuning into another episode of Breaking the Silence. Today we've heard a powerful voice, a voice of inspiration, courage, and empowerment. Remember, your voice matters, and together we can continue breaking the silence one story at a time. So until next time, stay inspired, stay strong, and keep empowering people to share their truth. Later, everyone.
Hey, this your girl, Poetically Sincere. I just want to say I did a podcast interview not too long ago with author Nikki Nicole, and I must say it was amazing, okay? All the way down to the detail. Organization, on time. I love a person that's on time. We can get to business. But she did great. Questions, making me feel comfortable enough to even talk to her, and open up and share. So I'm telling you, if you ever thinking about doing this podcast with her, she is the wave. Check her out. Go check out her podcast. Go subscribe to it. I'm all Nikki Nicole. Okay? And yeah.